I'm Sophia Janney, and today I'll be exploring how the media influences adolescent drug use. As technology becomes more commonplace in today's society, mass media sources are more accessible to anyone and everyone, especially teenagers, who are even more susceptible to subliminal messages and influences because we're still developing cognitively and still trying to find out our identity. The music and movie industry portray drug use as regular party favors and imply that the side effects of drug use are ephemeral and not really that bad. Illicit drugs are mentioned in movies and music lyrics more frequently than ever and are targeting the adolescent demographic. Drugs are portrayed in multiple different ways. They are often seen as comedy sources and ways to become popular, ways to meet new people in TV shows and movies, and in the music industry, it's often a way to become famous, a way to play with popular musicians and artists. The two forms of media that I'll be specifically exploring today are radio and movies. The radio and music industry is developing genres of music that are targeting the adolescent demographic, like music videos, explicit language in music played on the radio, and they're so easily accessible nowadays with Pandora, iTunes, SoundCloud, and other apps like that. The result of one particular survey of 2,760 14 to 16-year-olds in 10 different southeastern cities revealed that they listen to music an average of 40 hours per week, which demonstrates how influential music is to people, especially teenagers, who rely on music as an outlet or express themselves through that. 70% of American households receive cable television, and most teenagers have access to music television, MTV, and VH1, and watch an average of 2.5 hours of music videos daily. In the movie industry, explicit movies are available to most teenagers at any given time from live streaming. Apps like Netflix, HBO, Hulu, etc. are easily accessible and oftentimes free or really inexpensive. Most movies in current day show or at least suggest or imply illegal drug usage, such as marijuana, cocaine, opiates, prescription drugs, and more. Almost as commonplace party favors. Findings reveal that about 98% of movies studied depicted illicit drugs of alcohol, tobacco, or over-the-counter prescription medicines. In recent surveys, illicit drugs appeared in about 1/5 of movies, 22%, and songs, 18%. In movies, illicit drug depictions were distributed somewhat evenly across the genres, from action, adventure, to comedy, to drama. In music, references to illicit drugs were far more likely to be found in rap music than in other genres such as alternative rock, heavy metal, or country. In movies depicting illicit drugs, marijuana was the most frequently displayed, at about 51%, followed by cocaine, hallucinogens, heroin or other opiates, and others, such as crack cocaine. In songs referring to illicit drugs, marijuana appeared more frequently, followed by crack cocaine, powdered cocaine, hallucinogens, heroin or other opiates, and miscellaneous.
Looking at the frequency of drugs appearing in film, the rate tends to mirror social and governmental trends. Between the 1960s and 70s, there was an increase in drugs on film. This diminished during the Just Say No era. However, since the 90s, there have been over 546 films showing drugs. Drug use is on the rise in the U.S. 9.4% of Americans reported recent drug use in 2013, compared to 8.2% in 2002. Whether this trend is influenced by more films showing drugs, social causes, or other influential factors, the question still remains. Do movies encourage drug use?
Here's a timeline of how drug use has changed as media, the movie and music industry has also changed throughout the years. From around 1894 to the 1920s was the silent era, which was when cinematography often showed opioids and cocaine in a positive way. For example, in 1916, the movie The Mystery of the Leaping Fish depicted a detective who was chasing after Chinese opioid drug smugglers and who was on cocaine. In 1936, the movie Reefer Madness was released, which was responding to swing music lyrics suggesting marijuana use. Although it propagated the negative effects of marijuana and also exaggerated the side effects, it also still acknowledged the existence of marijuana in society. In the 1960s and 70s, a sensory blizzard was rampant. The Beatles introduced an era of suggestive lyrics about acid, marijuana, and more drugs that were played on public radio for everyone to hear. Also, in 1969, the film Easy Rider popularized drug use. In the 1980s, MTV created a 24-hour-a-day music on television, and began music videos. Also, in 1983, the film Scarface glorified cocaine use. In the late 1980s and 1990s, the prominence of rap and hip-hop genre and the evolution of DJing and electronica music often associated MDMA and marijuana use. In 1997, Netflix was established by Reed Hastings. It currently has 81 million users, and C-17 movies which depict drug use and other negative influences are available for streaming. In the year 2000, Pandora Music Radio is established. It currently has 250 million registered users. Also, cocaine appeared in 94 films in 2000, more than the previous 90 years combined. In 2005, YouTube was created by Jawed Karim, Steve Chen, and Chad Hurley. Music video popularity skyrockets. In 2015, 64% of American young adults have smartphones. 4 billion YouTube videos are viewed per day, and more than 50 movies are released containing narcotics. Here are some graphs showing how prevalence of different drugs have changed over the decades. The mentions of marijuana have been primarily consistent from the 1990s to now, with different words that are being used in different vocabulary terms, same as cocaine in most rap music. These drugs have multiple different names, and although I'm only talking about rap music, they're also mentioned in multiple other genres of music as well. The prevalence of MDMA and pharmaceutical drug mentions have skyrocketed in the past few years, starting at about 2010 for MDMA, reaching a peak at about 2013, and for pharmaceutical drugs starting in about 2008 and reaching a peak in about 2012. Although the media industry seems to be a catalyst for adolescent drug use, it can also have positive effects on teenagers. Media is a form of communication and a source of infinite information. For young adults, while they can be exposed to negative forms of media, they can also be influenced positively by what they have access to on their computers, televisions, cell phones, and more. Anti-drug commercials and campaigns, for example, Above the Influence, Just Say No, Be Under Your Own Influence, etc., have become popularized in the recent decades to go against the rising drug references in movies, TV shows, and music lyrics. Anti-drug messages help reduce the likeliness of teenagers doing drugs or continuing substance abuse. While positive media influences do exist, negative ones seem to be almost overpowering. The role of media influence on teenagers about illicit drugs is increasing as the music and movie industry continues to expand. These external influences permeate society and have an effect on the development of teenagers' identity and culture. Marijuana, cocaine, prescription pills, etc. are increasing in movies and music videos and lyrics. 90% of Americans with a substance abuse problem started taking the substance before the age of 18. Here are my references. Thanks for watching.